What is Truth? Part 3. The Gospels. The Gospels, as you may know, are Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And they are the first four books of the New Testament. And they were, of course, laid down by persons who were knowledgeable of Christ or who got retellings of those stories to place in specific books. And of course, the rest of the New Testament were likewise written by apostles such as Paul or Peter or John. But the interesting thing about the Gospels as well as the New Testament is that there are so many manuscripts that date back to show that what is written in them is accurate from the original manuscript, that we can say truthfully that what we have is a true record of what was written back then. But also importantly is the historicity. Jesus Christ was crucified and then resurrected around 30 to 33 AD. And these books came to being in a short period of time after, less than a century. And so we can say truthfully that these were not just legendary stories or stories which were expounded on about Jesus, but that they accurately foretold a lot of the things which happened during the time that Jesus was on earth. And of course, the rest of the New Testament foretells some of the things that the apostles wanted to say to the churches at the time. The other interesting thing is that some archaeologists have followed some of the books. So for example, Luke and even Acts goes through a lot of different specific things about what was happening at the time, or even the journeys that Paul had as he had his missionary journeys. And they are able to track the course and state specifically that a lot of these geographic regions are correct. And there are some things which they're even finding out now, which they realize were there during the time that Jesus was. So the Gospels and the New Testament are a telling factor in expounding on what it means for the Bible to be inerrant and that there's truth in Scripture. The Apostle Paul said that the Bible is there for, or the Scripture is there for reproof and for instruction, and it is important for us to read it as a guide for our lives. And God Himself was the one who inspired the writers of the Bible, both the Old Testament and the New Testament, for it to become what it is now. In fact, how it came to being was that Christians at the time, through the Council of Nicaea, decided to put together the more important books that the followers of Christ were using at the time. No, it was not that they chose which books they wanted to put in for their own benefit, but these, what they call the canon, was already being used by Christians abroad or throughout the known regions of the world. So these were books which, of course, were known to not be heretic or to follow the actual teachings of Christ. And so that is how we got to have the Bible, and more importantly, the Gospels, which lay down exactly what Jesus did while He was on the earth, the things which He said, and the fact that we know about His birth, what He did while He had His ministry on earth, His death, and more importantly, His resurrection. And this, of course, leads us to understand more about Christ and what truth is.